G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video. New week, new set of videos, let's go. So if you remember at the end of last week we had a race around here, this exact combination. This is another race that I did on the same week. Remember that we were in Group 3 on Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya Grand Prix layout. Of course we just call it Catalunya. So this is another race, and if you remember last time, I absolutely bottled the strategy. Absolutely, you know what, I binned the strategy, I burnt the strategy, I had no idea what I was doing. Have a look at that video if you want to see me absolutely fail. But we have learnt our lesson, and we're going to get the strategy correct this time. So ironically, I was a Mercedes doing a Ferrari strategy, but hopefully we can do a Mercedes strategy this time. Hopefully have a better result, or a better couple of results here. I did 2 races here, so let's have a look at them. So, turn 1, yep, turn 1, lap 1 off the first race of the first video of the week. Let's have a go, let's see if we can all get through here nicely. We actually get through there good that time. See, we've got a car ahead that isn't too popular. It's a McLaren 750S, a 650S, sorry, McLaren 650S, Group 3 ahead of us. And see, we actually lose a little bit of ground through turn 3 there. So, strategy, let's get it out of the way. It's a no stop. Let's make that absolutely crystal clear, in case you didn't see the last video. So, we're going to have to save fuel. It's an 11 lap race, and you start the race with 99% of fuel. So you've got to use about 9% a lap to be able to get to the end. So that's basically what we're going for. I'm going to probably will use a little bit more on lap 1 here, but hopefully we can equalise the fuel towards the end and avoid the pits like last time. McLaren takes it nice high and wide through turn 9, is still on the outside through there. We're coming down the straight, it translates to the inside for Leclerc, probably one of the best overtaking opportunities on the lap. Hairpin going into the final sector, he goes way deep, absolutely bins his any opportunity at an overtake, and I'm a bit distracted that Porsche goes around the outside at the hairpin, which is quite embarrassing, but it's not too bad. Turn 12, not an overtaking opportunity, but it's alright. We're up into 5th, so that's always good. So thanks to that McLaren absolutely binning it. We keep it fairly narrow through here, and then take a nice line through the chicane, hop over each curb. You don't want to get the wheels over the top of the sausage, you want to get the sausage sort of in the middle of the car on both. That's the track limits. So if you put the outside tyres on the sausage through each part of that chicane, I think they're penalties. So you want to keep it pretty conservative through there, but it's alright, because if you run over that sausage anyway, your car is likely to lose control. So sort of win-win basically, no penalty, and you're keeping in control by taking correct track limits. Guy in 3rd has picked himself a half a second of penalty. That will probably be either through the chicane or on the exit of turn 16. So, what's that? Only half a second. Yeah, so that'll just be a simple exceeding track limits penalty. But it's alright. We've managed to actually make a good gain through this first 1 and a bit laps. So we've gone up a position. We're still sort of on the back of this pair up ahead, and that half second of penalty that Nissan has in 3rd, that'll probably stick him in between me and this Porsche, so that'll allow me to get a bit of slipstream from him, and hopefully slingshot from him into the slipstream of that Porsche, which should allow a double overtake. So the half second of penalty in that instance is actually good, so he pulls over off the racing line to serve it. Is it going to be enough for him to get behind the Porsche? Porsche's up the inside at turn 10, he takes it really deep, but then cuts back for that late apex. Yeah, he does slot in between us, so that's always good. Through turn 11, and then through turn 12. Turn 12, you want to keep it really narrow through turn 12, like you just want to hug the inside curb. Don't want to leave that curb at any point. And turn 13, probably just dip down a little bit too much, but it's alright as we switch back for this chicane. We're going to be in this slipstream firmly for the final corner, provided we don't bin it. See, flat out through here, meet that apex nicely. That was flat out through there. Lovely. So that's what we want to do. So this is the end of lap 2, and we've got 81% of fuel. I think we're 1%, got a bit of a 1% deficit, but that's not to worry. So we'll be able to get to the end, I think, if we continue using fuel at this point. Follow the slipstream down the straight. See, we start to gain towards the end of the straight. Do an absolute lunge down the inside at turn 1. And that's actually not too bad. I think there was a little bit of contact. He just loses control on the exit. That wasn't me. That was on the exit to turn 2. My move was on the exit, on the sort of entering away into turn 1. So I had nothing to do with that oversteer moment he had, but that is a genuine position. So now the focus turns to this guy in third, this Porsche here, so we're going to be able to, hopefully we're able to get this position off him. So this track is sort of peppered with overtaking opportunities. There's a couple, one at turn 1, you can sort of, turn 5 isn't really, but turn 10 is one, and you can kind of slip up the inside at turn 9, but as a track, there's not really that many overtaking opportunities, and in terms of racing, obviously, I said in the last video, it's a track used in Formula 1. It's actually one of the most uninteresting races of the year, just because, I don't know what is it, the track and racing with Formula 1, it just doesn't mix, and I don't know why. I think there's a couple of videos on here. I think a guy called Chain Bear F1, he's done a video on why Catalonia can't make interesting racing in Formula 1. I think you should have a look, it's a good video there, but yeah, so as an overtaking, or as a track, the best tactic is to overtake down the straight, and you want to get as close as possible, so the rest of the lap is basically just gaining towards the guy you want to overtake. So if you can even just get a quarter of a tenth through each corner, by the end of the lap, that's like 2.5 seconds that you can probably gain on an opponent, and then you can slipstream down the straight. We'll fast forward lap 4. There wasn't much interesting that happened, not too quickly, so you can still see what's going on, just following this Porsche still. So it's pretty much a repeat of lap 3, sorry. So hovering around 5-6 tenths behind. Through there we made a little bit of a gain, 4 tenths behind, 3 tenths behind. Let's see if we can get through turn 9 nicely. He just streaks out a little bit of a gap, as I was struggling at turn 9 throughout the whole week, but there wasn't really too much of a gain that happened. He did streak out up to a second in the final sector, and over 1.3 throughout that final sector there, so it was probably quite a weak lap in terms of my driving. But let's see if we can get through this next part of the lap. We've actually caught up a few tenths through the first few corners, so I think for the pair of us, I was better through the first half of the lap, he was better throughout the second half. But I did discuss in the previous video how easy it was to run deep at turn 5, and I've just done that, and he's been able to get 1.6 seconds ahead, which is outside of slipstream range. Through turn 10, he's very strong. That rear engine Porsche was able to rotate through turn 10 really nicely, and he gets an over 2-second gap on me. So lap 5, let's have a look at fuel. 57% of fuel, so where should we be? About 55%, I think we should be now, so I think we're okay with fuel. 56 probably, yeah, 56% is fine, so we're okay with fuel. So well, lap 6, halfway through lap 5 is halfway through the race, so yeah, we're definitely alright with fuel. Could be on 50% and halfway through lap 5 and still be okay. So we've saved a lot of fuel now, so we've actually lost the position to this Nissan now. Chris Copios now in 4th place. We've got, is that the McLaren behind us again? So we're in a bit of a sandwich here, not really too much space, but on the exit of turn 3, the gaps just open up a little bit, but I take very narrow, look out, oh my goodness, way too narrow, through turn 4, and I'm not able to keep onto the back of this Nissan quite as closely as I was. It slides really wide on the exit of turn 5, and I do reel in a little bit of time, 6 tenths behind, but he gets a good run down the straight. Probably got on the power nice and cleanly on the exit there. Get a nice run through that chicane there, absolutely lovely there. Catch up a lot of time as well, 3 tenths behind as we go through Kempsey now. We actually get a nice line through there that time on the power, nice and early. Car sticks to the road, and we managed to get out of there. So down towards the kosher now. Braking point is like a little black box on the right hand side, stuck to the fence. That's the braking point just before there. So we set into that corner nicely. And we've got this really slow final sector now. Into fuel mix 5, you really don't need power through here, you need patience through the final corner. Through the final sector is really slow. It's 3rd gear, I think it's 3rd gear through Bank de Sabadell. 2nd gear through Europe car, 1st gear through the chicane, and then we do open the taps through turn 16. You can get that flat out when you get it correct, which I have done this time, flat out through the final corner, always good, and we were in the slipstream of this Nissan. Nissan is really good in a straight line, so probably should have put it into fuel mix 1 down the straight, but I'm still gaining actually quite quickly, so he's obviously fuel saving as well. We're going to go for the move, I don't think so, no, just stay in the slipstream for now. I'm happy to stay behind at this point, so I continue to save fuel, and I'm happy to save as much fuel as I can while I'm behind, so I can sort of let the car open up through the later stages of the race. McLaren sort of nudges me through the apex of turn 3, just really itching to get past. I feel like I'm a bit of a cork in the bottle at the moment. Just runs into the back of me again through turn 4, but not my problem. I'm doing what I'm doing. Still stuck behind this, well, not stuck behind, I'm choosing to be behind this Nissan at the moment as you go through turn 5, slide a little bit wide of the apex, but no one takes the opportunity to go up the inside, so we are okay through here. So just continue in the slipstream of this Nissan, braking towards the chicane. He turns in a little bit early, but it's not to worry, get through there okay. So we're still behind the Nissan now, but I can tell he was weak through turns 7 and 8. I can tell he was weak through there, as both this lap and the previous lap we gained quite a 3 or 4 tenths through there. So I think he was turning in too early. That's what it looked like from my perspective. Parked on the apex of turn 10, like literally parked, like handbrake on in park. Not going anywhere. There's absolutely no way past for these guys behind. They're just dipping into the bottom of my screen, just running into the back of me, just giving me little love taps, but it's not my problem. I'm doing what I'm doing. I just focus on my race, just still be in the slipstream of this Nissan. He makes a little bit of a mistake through turn 15 there, and I think I did run into the back of him, but it's alright. I just let him stay ahead. I just want to be in the slipstream. Fuel mix 4 now that I'm in the slipstream and gaining. Just keep an eye on behind. It's kind of not really attacking, but I'm not letting him get away, and I'm also defending at the same time. So Bandicoot Lover behind, it's just still in my slipstream. I'm in the slipstream of this Nissan now. Just touch him on the way through turn 1, but it's alright. You see through turn 3, just runs into the back of me again, and I just have to feather that throttle as that shoves me a little bit wider than I would like to be. So as a group we're falling behind, but it's not my problem. Have a look at the map on the top right of the corner. You see my red arrow. Look at the cars behind. You can't see any track in between these cars. It's a massive train that I'm forming by staying behind this Nissan now. Gets a little bit slidey on the exit of turn 5, so that's tyres starting to go off. We're going to go into Verth again. I know I was strong through here, and I'm much stronger this time as I managed to not make a mistake. So he just turns in way too early and carrying too much speed through there, and he manages to bin it off into the gravel on the exit there. So now I'm at the start of this train, so I can open up the taps a little bit, but of course I'm going to stick in my lean mixes through the final sector. Still got 3 laps to go. Fuel mix 1 now down the straight. Am I going to be able to defend turn 1 if you had a look behind? I am. I do defend successfully through here, but let's go through turn 3. Take a nice line through there, nice and narrow, and then get on the power. Nissan behind runs into the back of me. I just have to feather again. We get to the outside. Nissan has now got a little bit of an overlap. I try to move across, but it's in futility as he was alongside. I didn't quite realise. Just slips up the inside through turn 4 as I just go a little bit wide. So actually I could tell now, but he just brakes for no reason. Bit of a lag spike there, and then I just had no idea where he was. Look how awkward it gets through here, and I just slow up and let him pass. Lamborghini tries to split down the middle of us, taking opportunity of me giving this position back to the Nissan, but he manages to make his way up into 4th, so he's made a massive gain out of that little squabble that I had with the Nissan here. But I know it looked a little bit awkward, but I just swiped across, but I wanted to get to that inside, and I didn't realise he was quite that far alongside. But again, he just slammed on the brakes way early on the straight between turns 4 and 5, so I think it was kind of both our faults. They both slide wide at turn 10. I'm up the inside, and he gets a 3-second penalty, so that's absolutely crucial for my race as well as we head into the final sector. So this Nissan is probably quite frustrated from being holed up behind me for so long, as I just wanted to stick into that slipstream. He just slipped his way past, slide really wide through turn 13, and that Lamborghini has to take evasive action there and just bins it off the track. There was no contact, so that's fine. Then on the exit here, I just get a bit of an oversteer moment. Nissan just gets caught. I think he does lose control after contact with me, and yes, he does. 3-second penalty for me. So that's the race unravelled. That's that race done, basically. So I'm going to serve this penalty, and then drop a load of positions. So it was a good little fight for the first half of the race, but then it just got a little bit hairy between me and that Nissan that's now in 4th. And now I've fallen back and into the clutches of the game's always inconsistent penalty system. So what happened at that final chicane there is I actually lost a bit of control on the exit there as I was kind of distracted by cars around me, and that really slowed up my momentum on the way out, and that Nissan just ran into the back of me, and that made him lose control. So the way the game views that is that a car went off the track after touching me, therefore I pushed him off. So it's quite a simple system. So basically, don't make contact and you'll be fine, but sometimes it is unavoidable, and sometimes someone drives into you rather than you driving to them. There's always, I do have to remember, with this game, if you're continuously making contact, there is something you can do. It may not look like it, may always seem like the other guy's fault, but there is always something that you can do to avoid these sort of incidents here. And you can see I pull off the racing line, whack on my indicator. That's what they're there for, to let these cars know that I'm just pulling over to serve that penalty there, and I lose 2 positions, and then down into 8th, and that's really where I was for the rest of the race. And I saved so much fuel in preparation for attacking for positions at the end of the lap, and there was no one around me to get positions from. So I was across the line with 3% of fuel in fuel map 1, so obviously spent that final lap in fuel map 1 and was still fine. So overall, the two races I've had so far, that one you just watched and the one that was in the previous video, haven't actually gone that well. So what I wanted to do now is try and get a good result. So I've had 2 bad results. So SR has unfortunately dipped down to A, so I'm now BA rated instead of BS. Of course, S is higher than A. S stands for special, I think, or star. Star stands for star player. So yeah, I've dropped down to A, which is lower than S, and I have to be A because I have to be S, sorry, because I'm doing Mini Madness, and my good pal, I'm not friends with him, I've never spoken to him in my life, but we'll call him my friend because it seems cool. My pal Tidgney says that you can only participate in Mini Madness if you've got an SR rating of S, so I have to stay S. So therefore, I have to get a good result this time. So now, my main rival here is Graphics here. So now that I've dropped down to A, I'm in a lower level lobby, which is why the same qualifying time has put me higher up on the grid. So that's actually something you've got to watch out for as well. It might think, yeah, I've got a victory, but it means nothing, or it doesn't mean as much if you're in a lower level lobby because you're against players that aren't as good as you. So I'm now in 2nd, and we're going to follow the first few laps here, so I wanted to really stick with this Porsche now. This is what I needed. I needed a good battle up the front, nice and clean, no penalties, and hopefully a win. And a win from 2nd place is basically, that's the recipe for recipe for an amazing race. If you're in qualify 2nd and finish 1st, pretty much everything in between is great, unless the guy in 1st bins it on the first lap and then you're 10 seconds ahead. But mostly, if you start 2nd and finish 1st, it's going to be a good race. So hopefully this is what we can do. So let's keep an eye on what's going on here. So going 3rd, 9/10 behind. So that's still going to be slipstream down the straight, as one of the latest updates, I think, changed the slipstream range from about 0.8 seconds to like 1.5 seconds, so it's gone from OP to OOP, so they haven't really changed much in that regard there, but you can see the gap to the leader, 1.4. If the straight was longer, like on the straight on like Tokyo East or Nürburgring Nordschleife, 1.5 seconds probably would yield a little bit, but this straight here, even though it's massive, it's like over a kilometre long, it's probably not quite long enough still to be able to get the position for the lead, and you can see it's not. He gets a much better run than me through turns 1 and 2, so I still am in 2nd place. The guy behind us is 1 second behind, so it's looking to be the kind of race where everyone's gaps from the grid just stretch out a little bit, so everyone individually makes a gain in proportion to their qualifying time. So see 1.1 seconds ahead of the guy in 3rd, 1.5 seconds behind the guy in 1st, not really making any gains. The guy in 3rd isn't really making any gains at all, so I'm not really sure whether this race is going to be interesting, but can be a good thing, especially considering my SR is A. So when you have a nice clean race, especially race C on your own, then SR can go up by quite a large portion, quite a large amount by the end of the race, as I think SR is based on the number of clean sectors you do. So in a race C, you obviously do more laps of a track, hence more sectors. Therefore, your rating goes up by quite a bit, but I made a bit of a mistake going through Lukaisha turn 10, and the guy behind is now about 6/10 behind. So hopefully he's not able to stick into that slipstream through down the straight and able to make an overtake into the first corner. So let's follow the straight now, 3/10 behind. Yeah, definitely going to be feeling very strong slipstream effects, but he just gets a very poor run off New Holland there, and probably isn't able to hold the car quite as flat as I did through there, so the gains he makes probably isn't going to be as much. I just swerved to the middle of the track, but he doesn't follow my slipstream, so that's always good for me. I'm going to be able to keep this position into turn 1. Slow down nicely, park it on the apex through turn 2. Probably a little bit slow through there, but it's alright. And then we go through turn 3 in there. So we skip ahead to lap 4, have a look at the gaps. 6/10 ahead and 4 seconds behind the guy in first. And then let's have a look at the next lap. 4 seconds behind, 1.5 seconds ahead of the guy in third. Then we're going to follow on to the next lap, 2.5 seconds ahead of the guy in third, and then 5 seconds behind the guy in the leader. So you can see the gaps are just stretching out at the moment, and this is lap 10, heading into the first corner. And as we hit the braking zone, yellow flags are out, so I immediately thought back marker has gone off, but then I look up on the map, there's no one ahead, and then around this corner, graphics has binned it from the lead on the second to last lap. Oh my goodness, what an absolute godsend. So now we've got a 2-lap dash to the end, and I know he's quicker than me, he's probably saved fuel a lot better than me, but hopefully we can get to the end. I've just spent, much like the last race, I've spent most of the race trying to get a bit of a fuel bank to use at the end of the race, so I'm now in fuel mix 1 through this lap here, and I'm 1.1 seconds ahead of him now. So this is a surprise, this is a massive turn of events. So it's about 11 seconds behind on the start of lap 10, and then all of a sudden I see the leader facing the wrong way. So that's quite unlucky for him. He'd be quite frustrated, especially if I now came through for a victory. So we'll follow on to the end of the race now. So go through Kempser now, onto the little straight, into the braking zone for turn 10, just braking just before the black box on the right hand side stuck to the wall. First gear, park it on the apex, get a nice acceleration point out. So basically what I wanted to do now, I didn't have to necessarily be quick. The last thing I sort of wanted to do is try and outdrive him and make a mistake, especially on worn tyres, especially with not much fuel in the car. The car's very light. Now all I wanted to do is drive smarter, not harder. So I wanted to just keep my cool, meet my marks, do what I know, and I should be able to keep him behind. See, I'll just go to the inside a little bit and just allow him to get that bit of an overlap on the wrong side of the track for turn 1, but I can tell his fuel saving just drops in behind. I think that's by virtue of him being in a leaner fuel setting. So that's good news for me. I can tell he's probably got a little bit less fuel than me. I'll flick on the radar now as I kind of trust I've got enough fuel, but I make a bit of a mistake through turn 2. A little bit of an oversteer moment, just kind of snaps on me a little bit, and I'll just run over turn 2, and that's half second of penalties. Oh man, just can't catch a break, can I? But it's okay. I've discussed earlier that penalty is more than halfway down that straight between turn 9 and 10. Even if I can get 3.5 tenths ahead, I reckon I can still defend the position into turn 10. So hopefully we can do that side by side through Sayed. He hangs it round the outside but isn't able to get onto the power as early as I could, being on the inside. So we need a good run through here, about to serve this penalty. 2 tenths behind on the power, not so nicely, just have to feather it a little bit. Yeah, 2.5 tenths, probably not quite enough. So hopefully we can defend this position here. Through Kempser, I'll get a nice run through Kempser now. 7 tenths behind, half a second to slow down. So he goes up the goes around the outside, hit the braking point, he's on the outside, I look up the inside, slow down nicely. Got to just scrub off as much speed as possible, get so much oversteer on the exit there because I'm going so slow. And now there's pretty much no chance. There's no overtaking opportunities from now and all the way to turn 1. And we're on the final lap. He's pretty much a second ahead. I don't think it's going to be enough. Oh my goodness. Stupid car just snapped on me halfway through turn 1 and I ended up running over and cutting turn 2. That's what gave me the half second. Bit more oversteer on the exit there. So this no stop. Car is so light with no grip basically. And it's just so hard to drive at the end. But we managed to judge feel a little bit better this time. Across the line with 0%. And it's going to be a second place. But it's alright, I am happy with that. It was going to be a second place if he didn't bin it, and leaders normally don't, unless they're me. That's if I'm in the lead in the first place, but it's alright. So it's always a bonus when the leader does bin it, but even if in this particular case, it's okay. We just managed to, it was going to be a second place anyway, so I'm happy to take second, even though we did have that good fight at the end. So that's the best race I had around here. So therefore, that is the last race I had around there. So that's going to be the last video from Catalunya, from this combination of Catalunya and the daily race anyway, obviously not forever, that'd be sad, but that's going to be it today. So do hit that like button to let me know you enjoyed, and do click subscribe if you'd like to see amazing videos like this in your subscription box every week. But that's the end of the video, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.